One more round of series to go here for Group C of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship, as we're in the round of 24 at the moment. And this series will have some implications, being able to move on into the round of 12, maybe the round of 8, who knows, as these guys try and battle for things. I'm pretty sure, though, Cyril will be bagging that round of 8 spot. For now, though, we are going to head over to Zest, going up against Neeb.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. It's time for the final match of Group C, and it is going to be a Protoss versus Protoss of Titans. We have the Kespa Cup champion going up against a former Katowice champion. Please welcome on stage, it is Neeb and Zest.
We are moments away from starting this PvP. I'm Tasteless, joined with Ro24, and this is going to be an awesome match.
It really is. I mean, Neeb versus Zest in PvP makes my Protoss heart beat a little bit faster. But I am shocked, though. I'm shocked to see both of them being 1 and 3 in this group, Tasteless. And if Impact just wins a single map against Rogue, then it means that neither of these two can advance anymore. And that makes me a little bit sad.
I can't blame you. These guys are going to have to try their very, very best and hope also that fortune is on their side, or at least not on the side of Impact in his matches. Neeb has already had tremendous accomplishments in this matchup specifically, dominating in an all-Korea tournament, taking out multiple Protosses in a row to actually come out the victor. The first person to do that since Slayer long, long, long ago back in Starcraft 1. And Neeb is now looking to crown his next major achievement, hopefully moving deep into the Intel Extreme Masters here in Katowice.
Yeah, he had a couple of great PvPs already earlier this weekend. I think especially the series in the open bracket against Harstem were very fun, very entertaining to watch. I definitely recommend you guys to check out the VODs. If you missed it, the game on Eastwatch, one of the craziest PvPs we've seen in a little while. But Neeb has also said that his PvP is not as good as it used to be. Is it still good? Of course it's still good. But he's not, he's not miles ahead of everybody use. Like it kind of felt like he was a year or a year and a half ago.
Introducing our players. In the upper right, in the red, he is Zest.
We have a little bit of a pause. Zest takes a sip of water.
And I believe it was Neeb that requested the pause, so I'm sure we'll have a ref run in there and we'll try to identify whatever the issue is. And hopefully we could jump act into this game as soon as possible. How you guys doing out there? I'm loving it down here in Poland. This is actually my 3rd time casting StarCraft. I actually say I think the best audiences I've had at live events, and I've been all over the place. So it's a treat to be back down here.
It really is. It's always awesome to see people just lining up outside already, trying to get into the auditorium, trying to watch the matches. And of course, on the final day, Tasteless, we got to go to the Spodek as well for the semifinals and the finals.
It's going to be so sick. I cannot wait. And we're still far from over in this event. It's kind of crazy because here we are, we're casting Neeb and Zest, 2 of the greatest players of all time. But there's still a long mountain that each of these guys has to climb all the way through today. On to tomorrow, and if you make it to the Final 4, you will have all that glory at the Spodek on the last day.
Yep, and of course we've got Group D coming up for you guys as well. Group D has already started. We tried to make it start on time because we didn't want to let them wait until Group C would be done, since we had some delays earlier today. Worst case scenario is that the final matches of Group D would have taken place at like 1 or 2 a.m. And obviously, Tasteless, we can't be doing that to our competitors. We want everybody to have the opportunity to play their best StarCraft. And, well, unless you're a real Nightcrawler, you don't play your best at 2 a.m.
Very true. Introducing our second player here in the bottom left, in the blue. Make some noise for Neeb.
Now, where you finish in the group, guys, even if you can't advance, does actually matter, as there is $500 difference on the line if you finish last, or if you finish one spot above that, you get $500 more. And of course, all these players also pick up $200 for every single best of 3 they win. This is important to mention because, Tasteless, I have received the update and confirmation that Impact took a 1-0 lead over Rogue.
Uh-oh.
Which means that neither of these two Protosses can advance anymore, but they're still playing for plenty of money.
That's right, and of course Pride is on the line.
Yep.
Taking a game off of one of these players is no small feat. So we have the probes now splitting out across the map, and it appears that, at least as far as structures go, we have mirrored builds. There are different unit comps you can try to get out of the first two gateways, and that can usually telegraph to us what the follow-up plays are going to be.
Yep, I kind of wonder as well if, you know, the results, and these players are always aware of the standings and scores in different games as well. I'm sure both of them are a little frustrated with how their day went so far. I mean, 1 and 3. Neither Zest nor Neeb has a whole lot of experience with going 1 and 3 in a big round robin.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny, right? Because we've had players like Scarlet not even able to get into the deeper parts of this tournament. You know, she just came off of a win at IEM Pyeongchang. She's in the top 8 in the GSL Code S. But this entire player lineup that we had starting at day 1 here at the Intel Extreme Masters in Katowice, it's kind of crazy. We've had already many players go down, and it's tough, even for players like Neeb and Zest in this middle phase of the tournament.
Yeah, all these groups are stacked. All these groups are tough to predict, as we do have the first stack structures on the map. We've got a Twilight Council for Zest, and we've got the Stargate for Neeb. Now, the Twilight Council could be for Blink, but it's most likely for a Dark Shrine, as he didn't really expand yet. And if you want to go for Blink, then after you drop the Nexus a little bit faster, you just go Nexus, and then you go Blink. Or you can go for a Robo and then a slightly later Twilight Council, and then you can also go Blink. The only reason you would ever go Blink before Expand is if you're 1000% sure you're playing against somebody that goes either multiple Oracles of one base or multiple Phoenixes.
Yeah, because otherwise that's not going to segue well into anything else that's coming at you. So Zest now with that Dark Shrine on the way. Both players getting that additional expand. Neeb's Oracle is nearing completion. It looks like in the Stalker skirmish, Zest is going to have to back up and be very careful where these Stalkers go, because if you end up running the wrong way, they can get cornered, and losing those first 2 Stalkers in this matchup under these parameters specifically, it's actually quite a big deal.
Oh, that probe though, that probe has been revealed by the Oracle. I'm pretty sure that Neeb was paying attention. If he finds it and if he denies the Python, then it's going to be very hard for Zest to be very effective with the Dark Templars. Now the Robo is quite late, but of course he has an Oracle, and the second Oracle is on the way. So I'm just going to assume that Neeb will have plenty of detection, but let's see.
Okay, the first Oracle here from Neeb has come in, and I believe that does have vision now of the Dark Shrine right over there in the upper left, revealing what exactly is coming. But before I can even finish that sentence, oh my God! Okay, now he sees it. Excuse me. I thought maybe it was a little bit closer, but the Dark Templars are out. I would imagine.
Oh, I love
hold
this.
On. Here we go. Here we go.
Okay, he does stack the first Dark Templar, and the Pro blocks it as well. Good revelation there, but you can see him panicking a little bit because he's like, oh God, the Robo is actually not done yet, you know?
That's right. The DT is continuing to come in here. Nice block over here with the Stalkers trying to clog the entrance so the Dark Templar can as easily slip in. We have 2 more Dark Templars as well as a Warp Prism coming into play. A tag here on that DT gives it only a few more moments to last and try to take out as many probes as possible. And when it's said and done, 4 probes killed overall.
Yeah, and of course a lot of lost mining time, but Zest seems like he's almost not done yet. Now he sends the Warp Prism, but that too gets revealed by the Adepts. I mean, Neeb just finds everything in this game. There are 3 Oracles here, but I'm not sure if they've spotted those 2 Dark Templars on the right side. Now there is of course an Observer on the way, but still it's only a single Observer. Potentially Zest can do some more damage here, Tasteless.
Yeah, you know, it should be noted that the DTs, it's not just about whether or not you can see them. You do have to have an army there to actually fight them and take them out. So splitting these DTs up forces the Oracles to do all the heavy lifting, as you can't just rely on the Observer. And this is kind of cool from Zest. It's a very technical play, but he's basically making the Oracles do all the work and stay at home. Now another DT is cut off, which is going to, of course, limit the options here. And Neeb with a pretty smart follow-up, getting a Phoenix to basically punish and bully out the Warp Prism. It doesn't look like this is going to be something Zest can try to juggle any longer.
Nope, he's also probably going to end up losing that Dark Templar, because of course it's still revealed as well by Revelation. Definitely doesn't hurt to activate Pulsar Beam to kill. Well, he activated the wrong one, or he ran out of energy there.
Yeah.
Or the Revelation ran out, but in the end, the DT does go down. I think that Neeb handled that very well in the end. And a little bit fortunate, I think, with the scout on the Prism, but the way that he split up his units, the way that he used the Stalkers at first to block out the Dark Templars, I thought it was all very cute and very solid defense.
Whenever you go for DTs, there's an area of vulnerability where you're, as far as tech goes, a little bit naked. You don't really have much back at home because you've invested so much just in the Dark Templar tech and then trying to use them. But it seems like Zest may have outlasted that period. He's got a lot of gateways coming in here, so he might be able to get into a more normal PvP game. DTs can always be a bit of a double-edged sword.
Absolutely. The problem for Zest is, though, like, how does he ever attack? If he wants to attack, let's say that Zest wants to attack, how does he leave enough at home to somehow not lose all of his workers against the 3 Oracles of Neeb? That seems like a very big problem to me. So it almost feels like Zest is forced to go up to 3 bases. I mean, unless he's just going to go for it. But if I'm Neeb, I'll keep my Oracles on the side of the map of Zest, and I think Zest is going to have a very tough time ever leaving his main.
So the Oracles just continuing to patrol around, looking for any stray units, anything to spot for Zest. Interested in coming out here with a push. It looks like the 3rd Nexus will be identified over here. Neeb is still powering on 2. He should, yeah, you know, he will now see that that's going to be there.
2 Stalkers is not enough, Tasteless.
No, it's not, especially not with this many Oracles. And the fact that there are no Stalkers here also tells Neeb that there's definitely an army moving out on the map. But already about 10 kills there. Big victory. But let's see how Neeb handles this attack that's going to be coming here from Zest. I think Neeb positionally with his army is in not a bad spot, kind of being on this ramp. It at least tightens the area that the army can come through. But Zest may have enough power. I love this. The pylon's going down right here to make more of a gate that the army will have to enter through.
Yep, with the shield battery there as well, I totally agree with you. Now the Zealots are trapped in the back of the army of Neeb, though. That's the only awkward spot. And that's a really good force field by Zest. All that Neeb needs to do is survive, but does he actually have enough here to survive, Tasteless?
The Oracles don't have the energy to help defend in the attack, and the arc right now from Zest is looking very, very healthy. We have a quick pickup on one of these Stalkers, but that's denied shortly after the Warp Prism remaining in this game allows for those additional Warp Ins.
Oh no, Neeb actually seems to be in a little bit of trouble. He lost one of the Immortals early on. Before the fight started, his Zealots were stuck behind his own army. But in the end, I mean, maybe he does have enough, and now every second that goes by is a good second for Neeb. He's 11 workers ahead, and he's got +1 already, and he's even getting +2. I think Zest is aware of it, so I think Zest is going to try his luck one more time, because he was probably thinking, hey, that attack actually went quite well.
Yeah, it was not bad at all. Keep in mind, even though Zest has an extra base with less workers, that doesn't really, I mean, just having Nexuses there doesn't help. You have to be able to mine from them. And we're having that attack gear up. Let's see. It looks as though Zest takes a peek in and decides maybe it's better to fight another day. Now pulling out while we have Neeb at the very far upper left actually taking a hidden expansion.
Yeah, sort of hidden, right? Like, it's not the 3rd, it's the 4th. He could have taken it all the way in the left top side of the map, but that's not exactly what he's doing. The biggest advantage that Neeb has in this game, though, guys, is not necessarily the 5 workers. That has been nice, but it's the fact that he already has +2 attack. That is such a big deal in these Immortal Archon fights that are often a little bit clunky, right? They just stand there, they're all these big, powerful units. They just go to town on each other, and in the end, a couple of them disappear. Well, if one guy has +2 and the other one has +0, you're gonna have a bad time if you don't have any upgrades.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Upgrades are paramount. The later you go, especially the mirror matchup where you're using a lot of the same units to engage each other. This is a cool little harass play, though. Zest comes in, actually deactivates all those buildings, and manages to get out. Zest still powering up safely at home, whereas Neeb's Nexus at the 3rd is not far away from finishing, but he certainly isn't mining from it in the same way as Zest has been from his, with the worker count even 44 to 44.
It's interesting that Zest is going so ham on the Archon count. He only has a single Immortal in his army, while Neeb has a more traditional mix between Archons and Immortals. He's got 3 Immortals, 5 Archons. Zest is going for the 7 Archon, 1 Immortal. Now, Archons are great. The problem is, how often can you get a fight where all 7 Archons fight at once? Maybe if he takes the north side here and spreads them all the way out, but it's really hard to get in a position where all 7 Archons fight at once because they've got T-Rex arms, Stacy.
Yeah, they do. By the way, another drop over here, and it looks like Zest will actually spot this expansion. Neeb is not in any position to try to save this, and so many probes can be gunned down by those Archons. Looks like only about 5 are still remaining. Meanwhile, the Zealot harass over here is just getting worse as Neeb seems to be hopeless in trying to come up with any solution for everything that's happening.
It feels like there is no detection actually in the main base. We can see a little bit of frustration there as well. I don't know what the Zealots of Neeb are doing there. They're kind of just tricking up. But that one Dark Templar, I don't know if there's an observer here. Okay, there is an observer finally on the left side there. But Zest did a lot of damage, and in a game where Neeb was in a really good position, this game has been turned upside down. It's Zest is the one right now who's dictating the pace of this game. Also used recall. A couple of his Archons are stuck. This always happens. Actually, all of the Archons are stuck.
So the feng shui of the base of Zest, not so good right now. He will have to take out some of his own buildings to be able to move out in time.
It's now or never, I think, for Neeb. He lost so many workers. He lost his hidden base. I think Neeb had enough of this game. Zest is stacking up to disrupt this, though. So now time is kind of on the side of Zest. Suddenly, Neeb has a lot of Archons as well. Well, Tasteless, I think it's going to come down to this one big fight.
I think this is smart for Zest to buy time by sacking the Nexus. Okay, here we go. Disruptor comes up. And there's actually 2 total here, so Neeb needs to do damage very quickly, ideally avoiding these disruptor shots as much as possible. Zest forking out in 2 locations, but it's Neeb's army simply too big.
I mean, Neeb's upgrades are definitely way too good, that's for sure. The first disruptor hit wasn't great, the second one got multiple Zealots though, so that was quite nice. Observer got sniped there, but that's the Observer of Zest, I believe, so that's very nice. Now at least Neeb doesn't have to worry about losing his own Observer and losing detection. Neeb is just hunting down this army of Zest. What's going on, Tasteless?
Yeah, we have 2 War Prisms flying together with each other, although they're on different sides. The fight's going to come down to the middle right over here. One Disruptor taken out. Archons hitting from all different sides. Zest's army beginning to get smaller and smaller. Does he manage to get out enough? He does not, and Neeb takes that game in a last-ditch attempt after Zest was dominating for so long.
Love the way that Neeb just raised his eyebrows there in the end. Neeb was like, yeah, I won that game, but that's not a replay I'm going to show to my friends, you know, like that got a little bit too scrappy. But what Neeb did, of course, do very well early on is that he got himself in a great spot. He got that forge, he got the +2 upgrades, and he did a lot of economic damage at first. Then at one point, it seemed like things were falling apart a little bit, but in the end, he got it together. And he got the job done.
It was an unconventional win. A lot of times the person that had more bases, that did more damage throughout the game tends to win. But Neeb did, like you were saying, have those upgrades. He did get really good positioning, and he knew that there was still one weakness, one Achilles heel for Zest in that game. He managed to navigate the game to a forced fight. Zest, aware of the risk that he was under, actually ditches his second base expansion, hoping to buy more time. But Neeb manages to navigate through all of that, separate the 2 armies, take out the disruptors, and win the fight. Crazy. GG, Neeb taking game number 1.
Yeah, it was really cute how those Protoss armies were chasing each other in the middle of the map. They were just running circles.
Yeah, you could see Zest was just scrambling to try to get a good position, one where he could last, because if the longer that game goes on, the probability of Zest winning gets higher and higher. But Neeb, just with a very, very profoundly strong attack, closes that out. And I'm curious to see what build orders we'll see now going into game number 2. I don't know if Zest is going to do a DT rush. It seems like, and I think there are people who would disagree with me, which is fine. It seems like you don't really want a DT rush too much in a series.
Doing it multiple times in a row is often not the best idea, because then it's fresh in the mind of your opponent as well, right?
Right.
Obviously, Neeb is aware of those Dark Templars. I think that Neeb got maybe a tiny bit fortunate in the previous game as well, especially early on, you know, spotting the Prism, finding the Pylon immediately. Finding the Pylon is obviously skill because he's looking out for it.
Right.
But then he saw the Dark Templar walk in. He handled it all very well, especially early on, but spotting the prism, I think, made his life a tiny bit easier. After that, he did a lot of things right. Mid-game was a tiny bit scrappy, but in the end, Neeb got the job done, and that is all that matters. Plenty of money on the line. Neither of these guys will advance to the round of 12, unfortunately, but still pride and money is left to fight for, Tasteless.
In the bottom right, in the red, he is Zest! His opponent in the blue, our Protoss player. Make some noise for Neeb!
Seems like he was thinking about it as well. Make some noise for Neeb. He's like, well, I'll make some noise for Neeb if you want me to.
So we had the 2 gate openers back there. Big takeaway from it was Zest went for DTs. Neeb handled it pretty well, but Zest ended up getting buying enough time to get more expansions out and even shut down Neeb's third base. But I don't imagine we'll have another game that looks like game 1 from start to finish.
No.
Especially not with Neeb winning like that.
It was a pretty unique PvP, like plenty of PvPs we've seen this weekend. And we've probably got a few more coming your way, guys. Don't forget, Group D will start after this game. Or Group D is actually already on the way, but our focus will be on Group D after this game. And plenty of Protosses to be very excited about. What to think of Classic, what to think of Trap, and of course SOS as well. So that's going to be pretty sick. And I'm sure we'll get a PvP or 2 on the mainstream.
So if we can go kind of big picture on this map, you have this natural expansion right over here to the left. There is a base just north of here that's pretty easy to take. It's quite free. Not a lot of resources there, as you can tell, but you really can take that uncontested. So a lot of times we'll see players push out to this expansion over here. Now, occasionally people will fake it and do a 2-base timing build. So because people sometimes aren't sure about that third base. There's a lot of mind games that go on here, and this is one of the maps that really adds a lot of variables that other maps don't when it comes to expansion choosing. So that's something we may need to keep an eye on here in this game.
If you talk about mind games, what I kind of enjoy over here is that Neeb has only built a single pylon in his main. Now often, what does this mean? If you have a single pylon in your main, it means that your second pylon is out on the map somewhere, potentially for a proxy Stargate. So Zest is going around right now like a madman and probably expecting a Stargate or a very, very quick Oracle.
And in fact, that hidden pylon is just in between the hidden base at the very top left and the natural expansion there.
Look at Zest, he's even getting a third gateway. This is not super common. He's chrono boosting out Warp Gate. I think Zest is going to be quite aggressive here, Tasteless. Perhaps even with a good old 4-gate. Maybe you've had enough of this tournament.
Hey, he might actually. Not exactly the most conventional textbook way to play modern PvP in 2018, but you know, that actually might do it. Sometimes it's the builds that don't seem like they're the best that are the ones the players don't necessarily prepare for.
His probe gets spotted in the left bottom side, and that's actually a very big deal because he doesn't have a single pylon on the other side of the map. Neeb wins the Stalker skirmish as well and saves his first Stalker. This is a bad start of the rush of Zest.
Okay, now he sees the 3 Stalkers coming up. There's a warp in here that you can... Oh, not quite in time. And it's now just the 2 sentries along with the Stalker, but the shield battery is another important factor that does drive those Stalkers back.
The shield battery really could have saved that Stalker of Neeb. Neeb did such a good job in microing his Stalker to safety at first. He is finally going to use one of these hallucinations to scout. And he will spot that there is indeed a Nexus going up right now, but he will also realize, hey, that Nexus is late. Do I have to worry about more Stalker aggression now or not? Because he's going to find all 3 gateways. But he also knows that one of his Stalkers found that probe in the left bottom side. And look at Zest.
This is cool.
Double expanding.
So he's full on ditching the rush, and right now the rush is really about the looks. Neeb probably still feeling a certain amount of pressure. Neeb going for the 2 Nexuses at once, and is going to try to skip and bound ahead of Neeb, even though Neeb has an additional expansion. Zest, and this is, by the way, incredibly unorthodox.
Yeah, I like it.
It can work.
I like it. Exactly the way you said it, right? Zest still wants to sell the idea that he is indeed going to apply some pressure. Neeb has to respect it. That's why Neeb got a second shield battery, just in case Zest would suddenly show up, you know, with 8 or 9 or 10 Stalkers. But actually, none of that is happening. Zest is going for the double expand, just to play catch up a little bit, because Zest obviously knew that his tech was behind and his economy was behind. Well, that's one way to catch up.
Yeah, and it looks like Neeb is only just now going to find out. Now, let's see the scouting path. Does he go to the pocket base first?
Yeah, he sees it.
Okay, so he sees that, and once he sees that, he's going to also confirm that there is another base out there. Now, what is Neeb to do in a moment like this? I suppose he could also try to expand on his own, maybe go to the expansion with more minerals just outside of his base.
Well, the one thing that Neeb immediately realizes, as the PvP expert that he is, obviously, is that Zest didn't really have any tech. The only thing that Zest is working with are basic gateway units. These units don't have blink, they don't have charge. It's just sentries and stalkers. Neeb, on the other hand, already has an Immortal in the mix. Immortals are very, very, very powerful against Stalkers, especially against Stalkers without Blink. So Neeb gets a Prism, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he decides to be a little aggressive with his Warp Prism.
So, in this moment, Neeb does, in fact, take that expansion out on the map, using the Warp Prism to try to keep Zest on the defense and keep Zest's attention mostly to protecting his own workers, as Zest did go for the game of catch-up economically this time around. Zest also about to finish up 4 gateways, also confirming that third base location, so he has an idea of the tempo and the rhythm at which Neeb is coming out economically in this game.
This is going to be quite cool. Single pylon powering a lot of buildings there. There is a shield battery that can potentially heal this pylon for a bit, but if he unpowers all of these buildings, Tasteless, that would have been disastrous for Zest.
Okay, so not bad with the juggling here. The Warp Prism taking a little bit of damage, and he gets everything out. Good save there by Neeb. Fortunately for Zest, that pylon was not destroyed. That would have been a huge hiccup in the production rate there, especially right as those gateways are finishing. That's slowing you down so much.
That would have been at least 4, if not 5 gates. I think it would have been 4 in the end there. So good job by Zest, not taking too many losses either. It's always a little bit frustrating to having to deal with a prison that has Immortals in it. As long as there's no blink on the map, you can kind of get a little crazy with your Warp Prism. It's really quite okay to let your Immortal stand there and just wail away at those Stalkers, exactly the way that Neeb was doing it.
Okay, as time passes on, Zest it looks like he's itching to try to take that center right base as well. I believe there's a probe over there, which would allow him to go up to 4 bases. Now, he also seems to be interested in pushing here. Now, I think Neeb, he has more Immortals. Am I right about that?
Neeb should have more Immortals.
He should have more Immortals here.
Yes, he's got 2 against 1.
He's got 2, which is, that's actually kind of a big difference when you come up here. The surface area of this base, though, is quite big. And with Zest having a pretty intense ground army here, especially with these Archons added in, it's going to be tricky. I think Neeb might have to use his Nexus as cover, wedging his army between here, and Zest is going to make this even more complex by actually attacking with the Warp Prism, a few units inside there, hitting several locations at once.
Yeah, I love that he's getting a second Prism as well. As soon as Zest would have another Prism here in the left bottom side and starts warping in a lot of units at once, this is actually going to be really hard for Neeb, how to deal with this, because he doesn't really have the Archon count. If he recalls too many units, that actually means that Zest could overrun Neeb's third base, and that's exactly what Zest is going to try to do here.
Oh, that's it, GG! Zest takes game number 2. Neeb taps out immediately, realizing he's getting hit so hard in both locations, there's no way he's going to survive that game. And that will bring us now to the final match between these 2 players.
That was actually really cool by Zest, how he did that in the end. The big warp in the main base, forcing a recall as well, and then immediately on that moment, jumping on the rest of the army. I mean, Zest has created a little bit of an economic lead for himself after he double expanded early on. Neeb was still worried about the rush. That economic lead gave Zest the ability to just have a slightly bigger army in that phase in the game. And that's all he needed, Tasteless.
That's all he needed. Also, surgical precision with the force fields there from Zest, actually locking out all 3 of the sentries. They were going to get killed in moments when that attack started up. You know, I have to say, Zest playing one of the more abstract PvPs we've seen in I would say the last 12 months or so, really. Very cool to do that Stalker Rush, switching to double expand, and then have that technical engagement that really took out Neeb there. And it's just one more match between these 2 players before we declare a winner for this series.
Yeah, I really enjoy the way that Zest adapted to the situation. I think if his probe wouldn't have been found, then he really would have committed to the 3-gate. Perhaps even turn it into a 4-gate, but his 4th gate would have been very late. But it definitely would have been even more aggression. But Neeb was looking for that probe, found it eventually, and Zest immediately said, well, if I can 3-gate pressure, I'll double expand instead. And that was a really cute way of making things happen and finding his way back into that game.
So going into game number 3, I have no idea what to expect, really. These guys are a really even match. A lot of pride on the line here for both Neeb and Zest. Neeb really opening up with a more reactive style of play in that last game, and Zest completely turned it on his head and ended up in a situation where he was handily able to shut Neeb down. Going into game number 3, let's introduce our 2 players. In the bottom right, in the blue, let's make some noise for Neeb! His opponent in the upper left, in the red, he is Zest!
Our final match of Group C. Once again, $500 difference for where you place in the group is on the line, and of course $200 for winning the best of 3 as well. Unfortunately, neither of them, once again, will be advancing towards the round of 12. But it's also important to sometimes just win your final series of a tournament, just to get into the next tournament with a good feeling, you know, and just to travel home with a slightly better feeling, and not the feeling that you're coming off a losing streak already before you even head home.
Very true. So it's all going to come down to this moment, as is really par for the course in a PvP. We see the double gateway openings, hugging that location at the ramp.
That's actually kind of an odd wall-up by Neeb, as our observer is showing us as well, because a single pylon is not going to be enough. But this might be part of a greater plan, even though he builds his 2nd pylon over there on the right top side.
That's just a very big berth.
Yep.
For units to try to get inside of your base, and you know, this is not even like the GM stuff. Just in general, you want to have that more tightly controlled.
I mean, Zest scouts right now, and I truly wonder if Zest decides to open up with 2 adepts because he spots this wall up. That's the first time this series that Zest is actually opening up double adept. But I still have the feeling that this is part of a greater plan for Neeb, but I'm not exactly sure what the plan is. I mean, who am I to doubt Neeb, right, Tasteless?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that everything that Neeb and Zest do is very, very intentional, and it's not like we're seeing something that they don't know. That's definitely not what we're trying to say. It's just, it is a bit peculiar, and I would love to know the reasoning behind it.
I mean, he's getting a Stargate. Potentially, if Neeb would Chrono Boost out his very first Phoenix, there is a chance that he could potentially buy some time, and then he can always lift the adepts. He can obviously get 1 pylon there as well, and potentially just warp in a 2nd pylon, so he still gets a wall off. It almost feels like Neeb tried to bait this out to me. I feel like this is sort of on purpose.
Could be. It baited out our commentary.
Yeah.
we were talking about it. We were thinking about it as well. So it's Stargate here with Nexus for Zest. I'm sorry, Stargate for Neeb here. So let's see. And it's also going to be Robotech after the Nexus for Zest. So very different build order directions.
Yeah, Neeb has to be careful here with his Stalker, as these adepts could potentially shade in front of the Stalker as well. But Neeb's reinforcements are showing up. But there are 2 Stalkers here for Zest, so Neeb needs his extra gateway units too. And they are here. And now at this point, I think Zest is going to be the one that has to be a little bit careful, as there is more micro potential in the army of Stalkers than there is in the Adepts and Stalkers.
So Zest is going to cancel pushing any further here with that attack. I'm going to regroup now. We have 2 sentries meeting up with this army. There is an Oracle on the way here, moving across the map for Neeb, excuse me, and a 2nd Oracle being produced at the Stargate. Oh, man!
Oracle flying over these units is obviously a little bit painful for Neeb, but I think still there are a couple of probes very exposed, so this Oracle should get perhaps 3 or 4 kills.
Yeah, let's find out.
Against the battery is going to be hard.
Yeah, the battery makes a difference, as you could see. This was one of the big changes in PvP for how you can keep various units, especially in this case workers, alive, even under a big attack like that. Now the Oracle has utility later on. You can always tag the army and try to watch their movements.
Yeah, but double Oracle changes everything. Shield batteries are perfect against one Oracle, but against two Oracles at once, they don't really help very much. And that's what you're going to see over here. I'm not sure how much energy there is left on the left Oracle, but I mean, just like that, 7 probes go down as the second Oracle, like I said, changes everything.
Great play there by Neeb. Gutting down all 7 of those workers. That means the overall worker count now is 28-30 with Neeb in a slight lead. It's going to be easier for Zest to catch up. And Neeb actually going for another third base right away here as well.
Damn, that's...
We're seeing, I would say, an unusual expo rate for a PvP. And maybe this is a shift in the meta, or this is just the kind of games these two players produce. Normally you see people get on 2 bases and try to power up and get all the tech and tools they need. Not this time around, Roddy.
No, that's very fast by Neeb. And if you guys wonder, is he able to defend all the potential attacks? Good job there, still having the probe as well. Neeb is actually playing on point so far in this game. I love almost everything that he's done. He's trapping these adepts, he's gonna get the free kill. The thing is though, Neeb can freely go up to 3 bases because he has these 2 oracles. Every single Zest would need to leave 3 stalkers in each mineral line, and then he's still gonna lose a bunch of probes if he wants to attack. He can never decide to attack if he has to leave 6 stalkers at home, right?
That's right. I mean, he's really leveraging his position here. He's kind of using the game style that Zest used against Neeb in game 2, against Zest in game 3.
Unfortunately for Neeb, he did end up losing one of his oracles there. I'm sure that he's a little frustrated about that, because then you suddenly have to worry a little more about potentially being attacked, because the single shield battery, as we saw earlier, can keep your probes safe. Eventually you'll lose a couple, but it's going to take a very long time. Zest scouts the Nexus though, but what do you do if you're just on robo units and sentries?
It's a good point. More gateways being added up over here. Immortal slowly being cranked out for Zest. Now Zest is going to have to either expand again or try to come out here and smash this additional base here for Neeb. Worker counts 44-48, so Neeb in a slight advantage, but having to finish Nexus at that location is really important. It means there's a lot more opportunities for Neeb later on, as long as this doesn't go uncontested. And we're seeing a Zest go up to 6 gateways, Roddy.
Yeah, that's a lot. He's also dropping a Nexus, but the Nexus is going to get cancelled almost immediately. I have a hard time believing that you want to go up to this many gates. It's 8 gates on 2 bases. I'm sure that Zest wants to be aggressive. He's getting charged as well. I have the feeling he's just going to Chrono Boost out of Warp Prism and probably go to the other side of the map. He's still on 44 workers. If he does want to go up to 3 bases, he should know that Neeb is really going to outmine him in this game.
That's right. I think Zest coming out here with a very muscular attack could... I'm sorry, Zest coming here with a muscular attack could be tough for Neeb. We've seen these guys occasionally outpower each other, and the economics doesn't seem to be as much of a factor as how they engage. And there are still opportunities, though, for Neeb to slow this down. Neeb could try to counterattack, or he could try to... oh, well, I think that's exactly what we're going to have here. He's actually just running through. This is actually hilarious. Look at this. He's just coming right across the map.
He's going to go into the main base. He gets high ground vision as well. He could unpower all of this. Instead, he's going to go for the Robo. Can he deny? No, the Warp Prism is going to pop, but is he going to snipe the Warp Prism?
Yeah, I think he could definitely do that. He gets the Robo in this very interesting attacker scene, and it's just going to try to get some probes. Now, keep in mind, while this is being defended, Zest is not leaving. And the fact that Neeb did something we almost never seen a pro game, which is just walk through the front door of your base, go in there, destroy the Robo, and then come back home. This has slowed Zest down a little bit already.
Yep, Zest does have an observer here, so he knows about these stalkers. Now, in the straight-up army engagement, at this point, Zest's army is a little bit stronger. The problem is Neeb is never going to just sit there and fight Zest straight up. Again, Neeb is going for the counterattack. Neeb knows that he has a way better economy, and all he needs to do is buy some time. But I love this move of Zest. He left a couple of Zealots behind to just buy time, and this allows him to focus on the big attack in the front.
That big attack about to come up here. Only one Archon to the 3 of Zest. This is a little dicey. All these Zealots can get gobbled up immediately by that Archon. A tag here on the army so Neeb can monitor the movement. Zest is running out of time, though. He needs to do some damage pretty quickly. And now with 5 Archons coming in, this may be enough to actually roll over Neeb.
I mean, Zest does have +2. This is the reverse of the Blackpink game. This time Zest has the upgrade advantage. but Neeb is very heavy on the gateway units. But are these gateway units strong enough?
Yeah, we're about to find out. More Warpins come in, and Stalker's hitting from behind, and Immortal over here on the right. Zest with some Warpins of his own, but I'm seeing more blue Protoss units than I see red, and it looks like this attack from Zest has been shut down. GG. Neeb takes game number 3.
That was a beautiful PvP to end the tournament for Neeb there, I think. That's the way that you kind of want to say goodbye as well. Just to feel a little bit better. Secures himself at least $700 extra in prize earnings. And that was solid. That was a really solid game there by Neeb in the end. I love the map control. I love the activity with the Stalkers. And of course the Oracles early on as well. Just very solid gameplay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that series. Each game was pretty cool. Kind of had a twist at the end each time. And Neeb, once again, asserting his dominance as one of the best Protoss vs. Protoss players we've ever seen in Starcraft 2.
Yep, and that's going to be it for us. We're going to throw it to a very small break, and after that we'll be back with a quick interview with Neeb and Smix.
Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice as we're here for the World Championship. And we have concluded Group C. It took a while, but we got there in the end. To my right-hand side, we have Mr. Pig, we have Mr. Artosis. Gentlemen, the group is concluded, it is done, it is holistic, it is complete now. And we have 3 players that are advancing onto the bracket stage. We have Cyril moving on to the round of 8. And we have 2 other players moving on to the round of 12, which are Rogue and Impact.
That's right, Red Eye. It was a really good group. Well, you call him Pig, man. We gotta mix it up with you.
Thanks for getting my back there,
Yeah.
Tesla.
No. Oh, I'm the one fixing things here. Now, look, this group kind of went wild, didn't it?
It did.
Like,
Yep.
Impact does end up making out. This is something that I've been trying to push. This is an Artosis trademark storyline. Impact can beat everybody if he plays good, strong games.
So he's doomed, basically. Maynard, looking at how things have worked out in this bracket,
Yep.
going into the bracket, I should say.
I got to see the most important map, which was game 1 between Rogue and Impact.
Yeah.
Impact in that series had to win 1 map to confirm himself in.
Right.
So it was kind of done and dusted, as you would say, James.
Exactly.
Red Eye, my bad.
That's right.
Once he won that first map, it didn't really matter. I mean, obviously Rogue in the end did beat him 2-1, so the score is there. Rogue goes on along with Cyril and Impact from Group C.
Okay, and I'm actually getting a few results in from Group D as well, which we haven't fully started yet, bear in mind. We'll be starting that after the break. starting that after the break. But Hero Marine beat Elaser 2-0.
That's actually an incredible
That's
result.
crazy.
That's an
Yeah,
incredible
that's
result.
good. Because we were kind of counting out Hero Marine a little bit, but this guy is just so solid. He's so stable. Keeps getting these big wins.
I mean, if there's any place where you're going to get good TVZ practice, it is the EU ladder, where Hero Marine is primarily his stomping grounds. And his TVZ is one of the best in the world, for sure.
And I do want to throw out another result. SOS and Ryung played.
Yes.
And I got to catch part of Game 3 in that. And SOS ended up winning. Ryung actually got himself into some great positions. I thought he was going to win for a bit.
Okay.
But Recall, man, you can do some pretty spectacular things. Like
it's a good ability.
you can kill your opponent's base and go save your base, and that's actually how he ended up winning in the end. And it was a very close game, though. And the fact that it went to 3 games,
Yes.
Ryung is bringing it today.
Nice stuff. So that means now we've kind of began teasing a little bit of Group D. Thank you very much, gents, as we continue things
pleasure.
here. And of course, don't forget as well, bringing the very best to the Intel Extreme Masters. Do you know what these taste like? See that little logo there, the Intel Extreme Masters? Do you know what these taste like?
What do they taste like? Pringles?
Happiness.
They taste like esports. We're going to have more esports after the break. Don't go anywhere.